Okay, we're live. Thank you for being here with me. It's a surprise live, which is all I'm capable of while I'm working, but my last day is tomorrow. I am going in on this full time after a very brief trial run of working full time. That was hard. That was challenging. And daycare work is, man, kudos to daycare teachers. If you have an awesome daycare teacher, they are doing it. And we are painting Lila today. So this is really fun because we are doing I wanted to do a little experiment. I saw this feature on YouTube where you can raise money for nonprofits, and one of my favorites was on there, Animal Humane Society. And I think it's really fun to just remind everybody that you don't have to donate $20, you don't have to even donate $10, you don't have to go crazy, really. If everybody who watches this just donates $1, I could average about $300 within the first 24 hours before this fundraiser ends, which is phenomenal. So if you donate just $1, oh my gosh, thank you. You're crushing it, and we appreciate you, and we can make a big difference for these beautiful animals that are a big part of our lives. This is Lila. She is actually the dog of somebody who works at the Animal Humane Society. And wow, her reference photo blew me away. I love, this is a commission, and I'm not complaining when I get photos I'm really excited about and then I already get paid for. I often get questions about color. And when I saw her photo, I just thought warm and pastel were the adjectives that came to my mind. So that's what we're doing today. So obviously we're going to incorporate beautiful gold and all those things. And thank you, Donna, for joining us. Good morning. I wonder where you are. It's afternoon for me. So I don't usually go to live too often in the afternoons. This is fun. Maybe I can catch new people. But pastel. So we're going to do gold and highlight her beautiful warmth. And she just radiates warmth, but she also looks really sweet. So I'm going to do pastel purple and pastel pink. And I have it written down because it's just so fun. So in my paint palette, I have my 7 favorite colors in my single wells, and then I have my secondary mixes on the outside wells, and then I usually reserve these middle mixes, and they're always very dirty, but I often use very similar mixes for the painting I'm currently working on. So we're going to take our pastel purple and our pastel pink from this well right here, and you can see we have opera pink, which is coming from this well, and we have ultramarine blue, and I have some over here too. And then to make them pastel, very simple, you could do a watery mix, right? So that it's just lighter, and that would be pastel. But I want to add buff titanium, and you all know I love buff titanium. And buff titanium is really fun too, because not only does it make your colors pastel, but it will also increase the amount of pigment you're using. So it'll make them opaque too, which is changing the property. So it's introducing a whole new fun element, but you're increasing the amount of paint you're putting on the paper, which is really fun. Oh, Hawaii. Okay. Well, instantly I'm thinking, why aren't you outside? Like, I'd be outside, but I don't know. I've never been to Hawaii. I just feel like if I went there, I would just never be inside because it's just, the ocean, right? But I get it. If you live there, you got to be inside sometimes. Thank you for painting. Thank you for painting with me, even though you live in Hawaii. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, but it'll change the properties with that opacity, but it also increased the amount of pigment, and we are going to lean into scraping in this video, which is no surprise. I love it, and I use it all the time. So talking about supplies, have your scraping tool handy. I'm going to be using a palette knife. I love to use other things for scraping. You can use a plastic fork. You can get really creative. And other supplies, we're going to be doing whiskers with scraping, but we're also going to do some extra whiskers at the end. You can use a white Posca pen or this off-white Posca pen. I have used quite a few different pens for trying to achieve whiskers. I've used colored pencils. I've used gel pens. I don't like any of them except for Posca pens from the ones I've tried. If you have tried a pen that really covers up watercolor and creates beautiful whiskers, please share that resource in the comments. So you can see I already have my pastel purple tested out on my sheet, opera pink, ultramarine blue, and buff titanium. Pastel pink is just those, but without the blue. So it's very easy. So I just want to test that out and mix that up and show you what it looks like. Opera pink, buff titanium, and I mean, how pretty is that going to be? Doesn't that looks like her? She looks like a pink and purple dog. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then every other supply that I'm using today is in, of course, the Paint 333 supply list that you can get at paint333.com. We're going to start right away with her eyes. And we're really leaning into that pretty golden. I mean, she's just gorgeous and gold. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we will be here painting for a while. So hop in and out, put $1 in the fundraiser if you can, and have fun. Speed it up if you're watching the replay. You can do anything. We're here for a lot of fun. I have some fun announcements throughout the video, and we'll get to those. We'll have a lot of downtime. I'll have a lot of time to talk as we move through. So I'm going to, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to do a nice, beautiful little watery quinacridone gold for the iris. Yes, the iris. So I have a nice heavy mix on my size 6 brush, and I'm going to just kind of go everywhere. I see gold in her eyes. I am taking care, I can go into the areas that I see black, that's just fine, but I am taking care to reserve the reflections. So we don't have, we just want to make sure we save those. Those are what's important to save. And then I'm dotting any extra pigment I have just hanging out on my brush onto the edges of that iris. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. And the really cool thing too about quinacridone gold is if you lift it off or add water or kind of vary the level of pigment in it, it really glows. It stains the paper and just glows, and it's just so pretty. But I really like to put in a lot of pigment because it always dries lighter than you think it will. Okay, and we can move on right away while that dries. Just, you know, I like to babysit things, I like to keep an eye on them even if I move on to a different section. And let's move on, and we're going to go ahead and do the nose. And I really like kind of going in and giving myself outlines. So what I want to do is have a brush that is for water only. I'm going to switch this. This is typically my water only brush, this one with the blue handle. So I'm going to have that one be my water only brush. And I'm going to take my silver black velvet size 6 round brush. This one comes to a nice fine point. I'm going to get a really heavy mix of neutral tint. And I'm just going to have a lot of fun and kind of create the darkest dark areas in the nose that I see. It's just nice because now it's kind of easier. I feel like we're not going to lose these dark areas, and it'll be easier to fill in the rest of the nose. So I am just using my neutral tint here on my brush. And we're going to lose some of these lines, and that's okay. And you can see how just varying the thickness of the line, already it kind of looks better than if you had just done like a really straight up outline. It doesn't look so cartoony, which outlines can look cartoony. So I'm going to go right away in with my water only brush and just soften some of these outlines. So I'm just kind of going along the edge of them with water so that that neutral tint knows that it can kind of move around and have a little bit more fun. It doesn't always have to go exactly where we put it. And the light side of this painting, and this will be important, will be the right side. So this side of Lila. I'm going to drop in quite a nice pool of water towards the bottom. And I think we can go ahead and go in with our color. And I'm going to keep that pastel theme. So pastel pink, pastel purple. I'm hoping to just do a pop of cobalt teal for the blue. But her nose has some blue in it, so we'll just see what happens. I'm going to take my brush that has my pastel pink on it, and let's grab like a really blue purple. And that's the other cool thing about mixing up your own colors, is now all of a sudden we have a very blue purple instead of a very pink purple. And we're cheating a little bit in that way. That's kind of fun. Not that cheating is fun, you know what I mean. And put that darker color on the shadow side of the nose. And then we'll come in and do some pink on the lighter side, and maybe some gold too. In her original reference photo, her nose was a lot darker than this. I had to brighten it up to kind of see where the features were. So I'm just dropping in a lot of water here, and I'm lifting out some of that extra pigment that's settling into the light side. And the other thing I've noticed about my work too is that sometimes I can get like these outlines around the nostrils that look a little too, I don't know. They don't look fresh enough. So I want to make sure I don't do that too much on this one. We're already seeing some granulation, and that's just, it's just fun. So I'm going to grab another brush. I just like to get different brushes so that I don't have to completely wash my brushes between colors. So now I'm going to get a pink. So a nice pastel pink, opera pink, buff titanium, and drop that in right next to where we put the purple, and then let that float into the light side too. And facilitate that a little bit of movement there with my water only brush. And this is also acting like a nice buffer. So I want to make sure I kind of go around the black, since I'm hoping to add in some gold. So let's see. I need to buy some more. Oh, look at that. I found one. I was like, I need more size 6 brushes because I'm running out. I'm using them all with all my colors. I'm going to grab some quinacridone gold. Nice heavy mix. I'm going to put that right next to the pink, and it's going to go crazy because that's all. I think that's all I need to do. Maybe a little bit down here. Just on the light side. And wow, doesn't that just take over? It's like a bully. But I don't know, in a good way. I'm going to put quinacridone gold plus neutral tint. They like to make green together, and I don't always appreciate that. So now I'm just using my water only brush if I feel like it needs a little assistance in maybe moving around how I'm hoping it'll move. And it's kind of neat too when you add water like this. It can push the pigment towards the edges, and you can get these really pretty pigmented edges, which we all love to see in watercolor. All right, I'll lift that and soften that too when it gets a little bit more dry. There we go. So I'm just lifting off a little bit of extra excess pigment on the light side and dropping in water. It's just so fun. It's just so fun to put the water back into watercolor and see what happens and how things dry when we do that. I'm dropping in a little bit more pink. I don't want to drop in too much. I really like what's happening, and I kind of like what that quinacridone did. Maybe a little bit more along the black though, because it does look a little bit green to me there. Okay, that's pretty. That's a warm nose. Yeah, I like that. Hello from South Carolina. And here we go. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And MC, all 3 of you, 4 of you, everybody's commenting, everybody's watching. Again, this is a fundraiser, but I don't want you to donate a ton. You don't have to do that. You can just donate $1 or $2 or not. I'm just happy you're here. I totally understand if you can't donate. I can't always do that either. So it's just a fun thing I wanted to try. I'll see what happens. Like, whoa, what happened if I did a fundraiser, and what could be possible? Okay, going back to the eyes, I'm gonna try with my water only brush, lifting and dropping in some water. You can kind of see how it looks very flat right now. I want to add more water and see what happens. Oh my gosh. And then just that. I mean, look at the difference between those two. And all we did was lift, created a little space there, and then added more water to push the pigment away. So we're going to do that in both eyes. It's just, I think lifted quinacridone gold is just gorgeous. So same thing on that side, and they can dry really pretty. Hello, everybody. This is so fun. Yeah, I know I didn't give you a lot of notice, so I'm not expecting anybody to be actually really ready to paint. But that's part of the fun announcement today. I emailed my subscribers and I said we're going to have a fun announcement. And the fun announcement is that I am going to be opening up a membership. So first things first, don't worry for all of those of you who can't do a membership financially. That's just fine because I'm still going to be putting out content. But for those of you who want more and want maybe more of a little bit more of a one-on-one experience, I will be able to provide that now that I'm not working. What a roller coaster that was. So that membership is going to launch on Tuesday, and I'll have a lot more info about that going out to my subscribers on Monday and Tuesday. So I haven't finalized all the details yet, but I'm very excited to offer that. And it'll be right here through YouTube. So it'll just be basically exclusive paint-alongs. So the same thing we're doing right now, but maybe more specific demos. I'll be able to provide kind of more of what you all really want. And in addition to the things I'm already painting. It'll be a lot of fun. So that is the announcement. That is the exciting announcement, is that we have a membership coming up. So those two things are going to dry. I'm going to be babysitting the nose. As you can see, I didn't really talk about it, but I did just add a little bit more water, do a little bit more lifting. So that's what I mean when I say babysit. I'm keeping my eye on that as it dries because it's going to change as it dries. And I want to be able to do some intervention if I need to, but not too much because things are happening that are really pretty. I see some blooming because we added water at a funny stage, and granulation. All those things are just so gorgeous. Let's do the tongue. So we're doing these features in layers, and it'll be fun once we get done with these features. I'm just going to dye the water I'm putting down so you can see where I'm putting it, but you do not have to do that. But it'll be really fun once we get to the part, once we get these features done, because not only will the painting look really cool, because it'll have that almost half finished look, which is kind of fun, but we'll get to do the rest of it and it'll go by a lot faster than this. This is always the more nitty gritty precision work, but I still like it. It's still fun. So I'm just painting the whole tongue. And I am going right out to the edges on the bottom because we want that to be a smooth, hard edge. Thank you. This is so fun. It sounds like we're excited about the membership. Yeah. I just want everybody to know that I'm still going to be doing paint-alongs and other videos on YouTube too. So if you can only do the free stuff, I'm a big free person myself. So that will still be there because this is my full-time thing now. Like for real, because I figured out my commissions and I'm getting a steady flow of commissions now. So I figured it out. It took a while. Okay. And my husband's been helping me like crazy. Scott has just been going to town on marketing for me, which has just been a huge blessing. Okay, we did not leave a margin with the water on the bottom. We are leaving a margin with the water on the furry edge. We want to have room to pull in the color that we're putting down to make a furry edge with our grainer brush. So let's have that handy. All right. We're going to do pastel pink, pastel purple, probably put a little black in there too. So let's see, we got a purple brush and a pink brush already here. So let's grab our pastel pink. I'm going to go kind of heavy on the opera pink here, not a ton of buff titanium. And I'm just kind of following the reference photo. And maybe a more watery mix on the light side. This is very purpley already, so I probably don't need to do. And the other thing is you can make purple just by adding neutral tint. So we don't even really need that ultramarine blue too much. Okay, my water only brush is helping me tell the pigment where to go because I want a more watery mix over here. We could even do the same thing we did with the nose and add in some quinacridone gold. Okay, I want a little bit more pink over here where the tongue kind of just spills over. And I want to go all the way right up to that tooth. That's establishing the edge of the tooth too. And I want to go all the way down to that where it just ends. Get a nice smooth line there. Some nice hard edges. So you can kind of see how that tooth shape just took place, just happened with where we painted. And I'm going to take my water only brush and do the same thing. Just make sure that I'm just making sure that that watery mix is going all the way up to where the line of the tooth is. And you can erase your pencil lines more than I do. I don't erase them as much as I used to. I used to really erase them, so you couldn't even tell that I used a pencil. But then, I don't know. I kind of like the way a pencil looks. I like lines. I'm kind of a line person. So I thought, well, why am I erasing all those? It's part of the process. And they actually kind of look kind of cool. So I dropped in some neutral tint. Actually, looking back, would have been more fun to drop in, what's that color called? Lunar black, because it granulates. Okay, I'm using my water only brush and I'm saying, hey, neutral tint, you can come play with the pink for a little bit. And we'll see if we get a purpley color happening. We are. That's pretty. That's really pretty. All right, I want to make sure we still have enough water at the top because we're going to be pulling that color up. I'm hoping I can make it obvious how the tongue is kind of folding over the tooth. So I'm lifting up some pigment there to see what happens. And I want that line on there too. So I'm going to go from the bottom up because if you release your brush at the bottom, you get a little blob. Yes, it's so fun. The technique, yes, this is fun. We're getting a lot of comments. I feel like maybe the afternoon is a better time for lives. That's good information for me. So I don't have all the details on what the whole membership will be yet, but it is going to be an opportunity to pay a monthly subscription, get a monthly subscription to get extra stuff working with me. So extra exclusive, it'll be like exclusive live paint alongs mostly and other stuff too. So I'll have all that in the email that goes out on Monday and Tuesday. I think it'd be fun to go, oh, I'm nervous because we have, I'm just going to do it. We have black on there. All right, let's just see, put a little bit on the pink. Okay, keeping it well away from that black, and that looks fine. That's okay. That looks good. I'm glad we did that. That looks good. I'm not using masking on this right now. So we are doing scraping and Posca pen for the whiskers. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do masking. And we do have to establish this beautiful hairy edge. So I just kind of blotted my grainer brush to get the bristles soft. And I'm gonna grab that color and pull it up because she has this really cute little hairy snout here. And I didn't leave a ton of margin here like I should have. I should have left a little bit more margin right there, but that's okay. We could lift that out if we need to. And there we go. Just like that, we have established that pretty hairy edge. So that's how we're going to get those white hairs. We're going to do the grainer brush, we're going to scrape, and we're going to do Posca pen at the end. So I know this reference photo is so great. I am not complaining at all. Let's do a little purple. That didn't get quite as purpley as I was wanting it to. So I'm going to grab some of my pastel purple, my little mix here. And if you are just kind of joining us late, you can absolutely, even though this is live, you can rewind and you can start at the beginning, which is kind of neat. And then maybe you could even speed up maybe the video. I think you can do that and catch up with us too. So I dropped in some purple. I'm going to grab my water only brush and let that drop in some water with that and let it move into the rest of the tongue. We lost our line. I'm going to come in now with that lunar black that I was kind of wishing I would have used, and we'll see if that kind of produces some pretty granulation. I'm just putting it right at the top and a little bit down into this triangle shadow shape. That'll give us a lot of depth too if we get a really nice bit of contrast happening. I need to buffer a little bit more purple, pinky purple right here. I didn't want that purple to get too close to our beautiful quinacridone gold that we put down. Here we go. And I'll come in with my water only brush again and let that move around and have fun. This is looking cool. I'm going to just lift out, we lost our little tongue fold on this side too. So I'm just kind of lifting that out with a blotted brush. And as it gets full of pigment, I'm just letting that go onto our rag. Ooh, I'm definitely seeing more granulation with that lunar black than I did with the neutral tint. That looks so cool. Okay, I'm gonna just see if I can just drop in some water right where I lifted out that fold, and it's pushing the pigment away. Looks so pretty. I'm gonna drop a little water on the edge too. Maybe we can get some blooming and a little bit of a highlight. So kind of lifting too. I like that. It's very wet. We could just see if we can get a line back and put a little bit more black at the top. Because it always dries later. I made a wonky line here. I'm going to erase that. That's better. And I better put that back in. And a little bit more black. And then I'm just kind of using my water brush again and moving the color around. I'm lifting off a little bit of that line. Just got a little too distracting. And it kind of was a little too thick of a line for me. I don't really care for that. I'm going to drop in some more water right on the highlight on the bottom just to see if we can get some more fun things happening. And I love what's happening on the nose. I'm going to drop in even more water now that it's at this almost dry stage, you get some more fun things happening on the nose. Maybe lift and push some pigment off the top of it too. Could look kind of neat. It's really pretty. Our quinacridone gold really kind of faded away and I don't know, in a pretty way, really. I'm gonna drop in a little bit more though. It really kind of, I lost it. All right, just a little bit more of that. And maybe a little bit more pink. Purpley pink. All right, that looks nice. I don't need overkill. I'll lift out more of that too. We're gonna come back to all this, do it in layers. But that is so fun. Okay, yes, we do have, yes, thank you for these helpful tips. Y'all know a lot that I don't always catch, but yes, we do have Cheap Joe's, so it's now like American Journey Art Supplies, I think now. And they do have Da Vinci and they do have American Journey watercolors there, which is awesome. They have funky names. So they don't have like congruent names with all the rest of the, I don't know if Ozo Yellow is like Joe's Yellow or they changed that to. All right. Let's do another layer on the eyes. We can get that kind of in a good place before we move on. And I need a little bit more precision. So got to set down my stuff. And all my brushes. All right, I think I'm going to take a size 2 so I have some ability to be precise. And I'm going to go ahead and do all the black. So I'm going to grab a nice heavy mix of neutral tint on my size 2. And I'm just going to paint the darkest darks. So the important thing here is kind of less is more. Don't do really thick, heavy outlines and save those reflections. And maybe we can get similar to how we did with the nose, where we kind of softened some bits of it with our water only brush. Have that handy. And I'm leaving a margin too where kind of the outside edges of the black, where it's more hairy. So we can kind of create that texture too. And if you can achieve kind of a variegated line, I'm trying not to touch. It's harder to work so big, and then I want you to be able to see all my supplies too. So I have a lot going on in a little space. But if you're working at home, you can just spread out, which is nice. And it's so fun to see the eyes really take shape when you start to add the black in. Eyes always look really weird when you don't have the pupil painted in yet. So I am going around the outside, and I'm doing the inside of the eye too. My silver black velvet would have worked for this too. I didn't have to use a size 2, but especially if you're working smaller than me, not doing that on a full size sheet of paper. This is actually 22 by 28. I did cut it down slightly. But if you're working smaller than me, smaller brushes will be helpful. All right, I'm just going to grab some water and let that black move into kind of this highlight area of the eye. And then maybe we got like the cutest little almost white like a white little eyelash eyebrow thing happening. So I'm just taking my time. I think this detail that we're putting in right now is very important. We can be a lot more abstract with the other detail. So I'm just using that black brush in conjunction with the water only brush to really manipulate the paint that I laid down if I need to soften it and kind of lift it and get it into the shapes that I want it to be in. And then you're introducing water so it dries in cooler ways too, which I love. All right, there's quite a bit more black in the middle of this eye too. But I was thinking it could be fun. I want to pop cobalt teal in here. And maybe some ultramarine. So I think I'm going to take that same size 2 brush, clean it off, and do, if you can see, grab my ultramarine here next. Okay, and then a lot of you have already been chatting, but the other thing with this video is I'm going to give away a little mini jar of door lens. Well, this little guy. So just anybody who chats is eligible, and we'll announce a random winner at the end. Who can, and then I will just tell you to email me your mailing address and I will ship that out to you. That's always a lot of fun. Okay. So I'm dropping in this pretty ultramarine and then kind of working that into the reflection and into the actual black area of the eye, the pupil area. And then I'm using my size 2 brush too to soften those black edges that we just put down. And I'm softening it kind of into the gold without disrupting the gold, hopefully, too much. We don't need green. The other thing too is her eyes are quite a bit darker in the original reference photo as well. So I'm probably have to go through and do maybe a layer of purple on the eyes. Darken those up a little bit. Even though we just lifted off and revealed this gorgeous quinacridone lifted color. I'm going to actually do that right now. So I want a clean purple though. We do not want buff titanium in this purple. So I'm just going right in these wells and grabbing my blue, a heavy pink purple, because we know blue and gold make green. So I'm going heavy, heavy, heavy on the pink. And I'm going all the way on the outside and next to the pupil and kind of creating that little bit of a depth by giving it like an outline with the purple. And then I'm just going to soften it into the quinacridone here. And introduce a little bit of water. That's really pretty. A little bit more purple. And let that flow into here. Even in the reference photo, this eye is a lot darker than I've achieved. And I think that's important. So I don't want to lose that value too much. And I'm dropping in water because then it'll soften itself. And I won't have to fuss with it as much. Yes, so all you need to do to have a chance at that door lens is just drop a comment or a question or anything you want in that chat box. And you don't have to stay till the end either, because I can announce the winner and you can just check back later on today. Okay, so I'm still just dropping in purple and water to see if I can get this a darker shade of brown. And that's just looking a lot more dynamic. And I'm going to drop in some more water, and then I think I'm going to call it a day on that eye for now. I don't want to overwork it. The purple kind of blended into the water we laid down. That looks really cool. I think what we should do is finish that off, this black area around her eye. So I dropped in some more water, and I think what I want to do is do lunar black, which is this one on my palette. That's the granulating black, and we can get ready to scrape. Actually, Tina, I did start with the eyes still, but we have a lot of layers for this guy, this gal. So we're back at the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and drop in some lunar black. And this is, I'm nervous. This is always like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. Okay, it's moving around. And now we can drop in more water and scrape, because I want to get in grainer brush. Why don't we grainer brush too? Since we're working with some hairier edges, let's just pull some of that black out. I don't have a lot of black in there. I don't think I have enough black. I'm going to drop in some more black. Oh my gosh, it's just granulating in the most beautiful way. That lunar black, it's funny because I didn't like it at first. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gummy. And it's not very dark, and it still creates green when I mix it with quinacridone gold, and every black I've ever tested does that. So it's not lunar black's fault. I love it now because it granulates like crazy when you put it into wet area. Okay, the thing that made me want to do this was how pretty that little pop of purple was here. And I do love putting color right next to the eye. So you can see I'm grabbing some purple from my purple well. I'm going to put it right over where we put the black and let it mix. I'm going to put it right next to the eye too. And I'm still pulling it a little bit with my grainer brush. And I might want to manipulate it. Maybe put a little bit more water in here. I do want to scrape. We need to scrape in some of that fur. There we go. But right now it's so wet. And I just keep adding water. I'm going to grab more black because our purple kind of erased it. And put it all around. That looks cool. I'm so excited to do another layer of black too and make that eye really pop. And I'm just pulling that color up into, this is the time to do it, around this beautiful eye shape that she has. She's just so precious, and she's probably older. She looks like has some gray here, although some Goldens kind of have a white face, but I think she's a little bit, I think her owner, her human, said she was 13, but I could be wrong. I might not have that right. Pretty, 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 pretty. I'm going to do more black. It needs to be a little darker. I'm kind of just splotching it around as it fades into all those areas we painted with water. And now it's kind of nice that we've gotten this far with this eye, because now we know exactly how we're going to do the next eye, and it won't be so scary. So I'm kind of even painting some of the hairs with my brush. It's nice when dogs kind of have this built-in eyeliner, because then it takes the focus onto puts the focus on the eyes. This is what we want, and it's doing it for us. I'm gonna grab my size 2. It's blotted, it's not super wet. I'm gonna hope I can maybe lay down some hairs, kind of negative paint the splotchy sections over here. I want to keep in mind scraping. I want to try really hard to catch a good time to scrape. But I want to also do this part. Okay. Huh, that's so fun. I love the purple around that. And that's nice because that's the shadow side too. So it's going to be that pastel purple. I'm going to put down a little bit more purple even. Enjoy your dinner. That's good. I like dinner. Okay, why don't we scrape? Let's just see how that will look. Let's see if we're in a good spot to scrape. Oh, wow. I love when things work the way that they should. So you can see we're kind of removing some of the pigment here, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And we're getting some lighter lines. You can see too, it's kind of off screen, but I'm just wiping the pigment that I'm scraping off. Otherwise, I deposit it back when I do the next line, and it doesn't look good. It's tough to catch scraping. I don't always catch it right. But you can, if you do catch it, it looks so good. And you don't have to do a ton of it. I feel like that's enough. And that'll be enough for that eye. And I'm going to try to do pink, the pink on this eye. I think that would look kind of cool. And then maybe another layer on the nose and the tongue, and move to the snout. And once those things are done, the rest of it's going to go so fast, which will be nice. So we did the same. We're going to do the same thing, and we're just going to give ourselves this nice pretty outline of black. Paint in these darkest dark areas of black here, and then we will soften it out, add our pink, and do our texture techniques, scraping and grainer brush, and we'll call it a day on this eye too. It is magic. I agree, KB. Watercolor is magic. What other medium can do this? I don't get it. All right, let's get our water in there. Soften that edge and let it hang out, let it come play around with the outside part of the eye. Now, depending too on the black you're using, it might spread more than mine is, and on the paper you're using. So, I have my pink brush. I'm gonna grab pink. Gosh, this is a lot of purple on it. Grab my pastel pink because that's the kind of the highlight color we're looking for here. I'm gonna put that towards the outside of the eye here. I might worry about the pupil after we kind of get a layer. That looks so purple to me, doesn't it? I think I need more pink. It's okay if it's a little purple. I'm gonna just grab straight up opera pink, I think. You can see me doing that. Okay, good. Do a little bit of that. And how many brushes I have in my hand. I think that's so funny every time. And I do it all the time. We're pulling that beautiful pool of color that we put down with our grainer brush and getting some fluffy edges here. I need more black. I went a little too heavy on the color without a lot of black here. Maybe a little black on my grainer brush. Ooh, I like that. Soften that in a little bit. Add a little bit more water. There you go. There, I do like the pink of that. It's a little bit more pinky than the other one is. And the other one actually, I feel like is getting a little too dull. I'm going to drop in a little bit more purple. Except now it's kind of dry. Not too dry. It'll blend in. I'm trying mostly not to cover up some of those really pretty scraped hairs that we achieved. There we go. And drop in some more water. Maybe push that purple towards the edges. See if we can get some pigmented edges there. It could look kind of cool. There we go. Now it's going to push it out. That looks cool. Push that one out too. Okay, I don't want to forget about this. What's happening over here? There we go. I want to get all that fur pattern right. There, that looks cool. I like that kind of opera pink, that little hit of pink over here. It looks really cool. So I'm leaning into that a little bit. I'm dropping in some more straight up opera pink without the buff titanium. Right on the edge there. Sometimes you see things happening and you want to just lean into it. I like that a lot. It looks really pretty. I feel like I want quinacridone gold in here too. So let's just see what happens if we do a little bit of that. I'm gonna get another brush. Let's see, that's water only. I think this one had some gold on it. So I'm gonna get a nice heavy mix of that on a blotted brush here, not too wet, but wet enough to deposit some color. And see if I can kind of, I'm not gonna need a lot because it takes over. It really takes over. I always put too much of that down. All right, I'm gonna put some more water down. Maybe I can push it away. Let it push back in a little bit. and lift it off too. That looks pretty though. Looks really bright. Looks really nice in that way. I'm gonna grab my greener brush again. It's a little bit more risky now that we have gold on there, but that's so pretty. Get some of those hairs in place. I like that a lot. And blend them into the pretty outline shapes that we achieved. Let's see if we can scrape this one too. We're getting a little bit. I wish I could zoom in faster so you could really see. It'd be nice to add a little bit of a close-up. I can't do that. I'm not editing this. It's just live. So I'll probably have a close-up on my website someday if you want to look at it close. I'll definitely post it on my socials. You can see that close up. It's just so neat how you can really see a lot more when you look at these up close. All the cool detail that you really spent time on. You want people to see it. Dropping in more water, pushing that pigment out towards the edges. We achieved some really cool scraping there. And now I can finish the black inside the eye. I'm just kind of studying it here a little bit. I'm putting that black close to the quinacridone, and then maybe we come in with some ultramarine and finish off towards the top. Grab my size 2 and get some ultramarine and put that. And the other thing I try to remind myself too with eyes is to not do perfect circles, perfect circle pupils or perfect circle irises. Sometimes little blobs or even hard edges, geometric shapes of color actually look better and more like an eyeball. So I'm using my size 2. It's definitely blotted. It's basically just soft bristles, enough of water so that I have a lot of control. I'm not really adding a ton of water. I'm just softening these edges together. And I want to come in with purple, but wait, there's more. I'm going to do a little bit more black. There we go. And coming in with our purple now. So clean purple for the eyes. So that's no buff titanium. And kind of heavy on the pink. Oh, we have a $20. You just met our goal, Angie. And what? Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. That is so cool. That is so cool. All right. Well, we may as well just, we're done now, right? We already won the day. Okay, I have to focus. Thank you, Angie. That is so cool. That is just so cool. I got 3 of my 4 cats from AHS. It's just really neat. The stuff people do, you know, to give back. It's amazing. They work hard over there, taking care of the animals, helping people who want to keep their animals, but it's, you know, a financial burden. They help with that too, with food and supplies. You know, the power of an animal in your life they really are therapeutic. They're really, really special, which is why people pay big bucks for me to paint them. I'm not complaining. Okay, not huge bucks. I'm not going crazy over here. Not charging up the waz. All right, up the waz. That's like my dad says. I say a lot of things my dad says. I'm still putting on purple. So just like what we did with the other eye, I'm basically kind of trying to extend the pupil a little bit and make that quinacridone kind of a shade darker. Pretty cool. That's really cool. But this is also the light side eye, so we don't need to make, we definitely don't want to make that quinacridone darker than this one. So while we have purple, a nice clean purple on our brush, we could go over to this eye because it's, like I said, it dries lighter. So it dried significantly lighter here. So I'm really kind of going heavy-handed with the purple. And I will soften that in. And you can see too, this little purple I just laid down, I didn't go right to the edge. Sometimes in irises, there's a lot going on in an iris. And they kind of almost have like a darker outline before they reach the edge. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, it can kind of look cool if you have a little bit of a dynamic look to the iris. And I don't know if I'll even achieve that or if it'll just kind of come together as one. I need more purple. There we go. I like that. I almost filled it in with purple right there. But I can come back to it. I like the ultramarine. Oh yeah, I was going to do cobalt teal too. I love a tiny pop of cobalt teal in or right next to the reflection on the eye. So I'm going to get a nice heavy mix of cobalt teal on my size 2 brush, and I'm going to put it right almost over some of the area we painted with ultramarine. But not right in the, not like in the middle of the reflection. I'm still kind of focusing on the edges. And a little, oh, it's just like so pretty. The cobalt teal is kind of ridiculous how pretty it is. And it's just this blue that's hard to mix. You can't really. So I have two blues on my palette. How pretty is that? I'm going to grab a little bit of ultramarine. I lost a little too much ultramarine with some of that cobalt. So I was using my size 2 for all the colors there in the eye, and I think, and that's, I'm willing to waste paint to have a smaller brush to work with. So I'm willing to clean my brush off and kind of switch out colors as we go. But look at that. Look at those eyes. Let's do another layer on the nose. Angie, that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm so excited. Angie equals angel. I agree. The cool thing, what was I going to say about that with, yeah, I've gotten more messages than just from you, Angie. Some very similar messages about people who have learned so much. And I just think that's amazing. Like, that is so, like, what? I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's a cool thought to think that you really helped somebody learn something that they're passionate about. That's just, it makes me really happy. Thank you, Angie. That was so kind. And it really makes my day. It makes my day to think that I'm helping in that way, just by sharing something I'm crazy about. It's like, I'm crazy about chocolate, right? So to think that other people like chocolate more because I like chocolate, which is ridiculous, but you know what I mean. It's like trying to kind of give an example. Okay, what I'm trying to do now with the nose is soften this bit of color into this pretty reflection that I kind of want to keep because it's on the highlight side. And you can see, you know, we have to sometimes put in those little painterly details because they won't always be on the reference photo. So I might be overthinking this a little bit, but I'm pulling the color, kind of refining this edge. I like what we got here though. In terms of like little white bits of paper. I think they're abstract enough to not look funky, like, or forced or silly. I'm going to soften this bottom edge too. Actually, I'm going to wait until we do the snout for that. Okay, I think right now I'm just looking at these white shapes and wondering if I need to soften them before we glaze. And I don't know if we do. I kind of like those. So why don't we just glaze a pretty little layer of color. I'm going to glaze some pink over here. And I am kind of going over those white bits. And that softens them too. So I'm doing a cleaner pink because I don't want the opacity of the buff titanium. When you glaze, it'd be better. It's best to not glaze with an opaque color because you're just going to cover up all that pretty stuff that's happening beneath your glaze. Okay, a little bit of purple. And I need my water only brush to go into there. And I'm softening that glaze up and in a little bit. And what if we grabbed, oh man, what brush am I on here? A little bit more of that pink. And softening it into, at least on the dark side, a little bit. And a little bit of glaze of quinacridone could be kind of cool. That's a nice, clean, transparent color. So we could grab that. And I just love how you still get to see what's underneath the glaze when you glaze. When you glaze. How many times can you say glaze? All right, I'm having too much fun. I gotta, take it easy. It's just watercolor. All right, put in some more pink on this highlight side. Maybe drop in some more water too. I don't want to lose too much of that pretty highlight. There we go. Drop in some more water. Let that dry in a funny way. Not a funny way, a fun way. And I'm going to want to lift. I think I need to lift. Those nostrils are a little harsh. We'll have to do that once it's dry. All right, looking at our tongue, since we're still here doing all this really important detail work. Daddy, I love your question. How do you learn how to do this? By watching my YouTube videos. Oh gosh, that's funny. It really is like the method that I teach with the 3-3-3 method, this 3-step process where we're painting with water and dropping in color and then finishing with techniques like scraping and grainer brush. And then the properties too. So just kind of thinking about how wet your paper is and how wet your brushes are and how wet your color is, your paint. So it definitely does take practice. I mean, you could see my earlier paintings. I didn't just come out of the womb with a paintbrush in my hand, you know what I mean? But that's why I teach my whole 3-3-3 method, because I really think that that's everything you need to know. Everything that I'm doing is that. I don't have any secrets that I'm not sharing by any means. And then these techniques that we're using are really fun. And then this limited palette is really fun too. So we're really a lot of color in here. I'm going to do another layer. Do I want another layer on the tongue? Yeah, it's not as vibrant as I'd like it to be, but I am gonna, oh man, it's tricky because I like pastel, but I don't necessarily want to cover up all this pretty color. All right, I'm kind of glazing but negative painting at the same time because it's opaque. So I wanted to emphasize this cute little fold he has, or she has, in the tongue. And I wanted to emphasize the highlight here, but look at how much shape we achieved just with that little bit of a glaze. And then I'm just softening it in a little bit. And that's good enough for me for now. We could move on to the rest of the snout. For the nose is so pretty. It's granulating so nicely. All right, let's do the snout. And this is gonna be a lot of fun because I want to achieve the whiskers. I'm gonna make it a little smaller. I'm hoping to achieve whiskers with Posca pen at the end. That'll be easy. That'll be very easy. We won't have to worry about that. But with scraping too. We're gonna have to keep that all in mind as we go. All right. I'm adjusting some of the things on my monitor here so I can kind of see there we go. See the snout a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna paint with black. Yeah, let's have our grainer brush handy too for some of the hairy edges. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab neutral tint on my silver black velvet brush. I'm gonna get a nice heavy mix of that and a nice wet brush. So I have a lot of pigment and a lot of water on my brush. And you know, I think I'm gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna lay down a little thing of water. So everywhere we see black along the muzzle, the snout, we're gonna go ahead and paint with water. And I'm gonna dye it so you can see where I'm painting. Let's see, and I have this pretty, I'm trying to think, okay, so the black goes all the way down here and then it starts to get kind of hairy. Literally, right? Like difficult. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm painting with water now, and I'm gonna leave margins because we have hairy edges. So giving myself, it doesn't have to be crazy margin, but everywhere there's a hairy edge, that's where I'm leaving a margin. And everywhere where it's a nice smooth edge, I don't need a margin. So the edges get kind of smooth where the gums are kind of protruding over the jawline, and the edges are smooth where the gums kind of meet the tongue and the teeth. So I can go all along there without a margin. We just need a margin where we have the hair. And I'm going to keep this dyed so you can kind of see where I'm putting it. And this will take a little while. It's kind of a fussy, precise area too. There's a lot of that on this dog. But it'll also look really cool when we're done because we took the time to be fussy. All right, still nice and smooth here. And it starts to get a little bit hairy towards the bottom. And there's another tooth. We can kind of see another tooth, a couple teeth, not a ton. Putting more water, just getting a nice pool of water here too. All right, and I'm going to do a nice margin where that hair kind of attaches. And I'm leaving no water where the teeth are. This is good. I'm glad we did this instead of went right in with black. So this would be the 3-step process right in action. I'm actually doing it. We did that with the tongue. We painted with water too. So sometimes with areas of really high detail, I will go straight onto dry paper without painting with water first because we just need a little bit more precision. Okay, leaving a margin. Up here, I've splattered. That's why I'm drying some of these splatters off. Okay. There we go. Need to dye it so you can see where I'm going. Nice big pool of water here too. It takes a while. If you're working smaller, it shouldn't take you quite as long. But I love working big because then you have more room for watery things to happen, which is my favorite. Okay, and we're gonna go a nice thin line up here because this is kind of a hairier edge. And we're gonna wanna use our grainer brush up there. Oh, fun. Let's go in, why don't we go in with some pink while we're hanging out? I have a bunch of pink. Well, actually I don't, that's kind of clean. Okay, let's see. Here's my water only brush. All right, let's grab our pretty opaque pastel pink, our opera pink plus buff titanium. And I'm gonna throw that in the water on the light side. And you know, the gums are pink, so they always have, I mean, they're black, but they have some little pink bits, not a ton. And then why don't I grab and just move right into purple as we go into the dark side. So I'm gonna move purple over here and then let that drift into there, and then I'll grab my black. So now we're back to the black first that we had, and just put a nice big layer, a lot of black on my brush. And I'm going to go all the way to the edges on the smooth edges. I have quite the pool of water in some of these areas. And I want to establish this tooth. So I'm kind of being fussy around the tooth too. And bring that black all the way up into this little pool. And I'm going all the way to the furry edges too. And there's the black, kind of looks to me like it's way at the top of the teeth. And then kind of again at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that reflection. So I'm going to do a nice big swipe of black here, and I'm going to grab my grainer brush right away and make those the hairy edges at the bottom of the snout. She doesn't have like a ton of them. It's kind of sporadic. All right, we'll establish the hairy edges of the snout too with this grainer brush. Need more black in here. And I have so much of a pool, like a crazy pool. Let's see. This is so fun how this black mixed with the purple and the pink. I'm kind of adding some water and pushing the color. I don't want to lose this pretty reflection right at the top. So I'm just pushing and lifting and dropping in water all at the same time. fun. I think I could drop in more color. This is crazy though. This pool of, I'm gonna lift some of this out. I'm gonna get pigment unfortunately when I do this, but this is just so much water right here that I'm gonna, there. That's all I really need to do. Let's see what I got here. I got some pinky purple. So I'm dropping in some of that pretty purple color. Okay, I'm gonna leave this as my pink. We'll make this our purple. So just dropping in some more purple over here. And seeing if I can get that reflection to hang out and put water right where I left it, and it can kind of push the pigment around and look really cool. All right, so just still doing that lifting, pushing and dropping in water. I'm gonna grab my greener brush and see. It's a little bit better. It's just such a big pool. I don't want like chunky hair over here. Kind of looks like clown right now with this, like he's got heavy makeup on. I default to he, even when the dogs are girls. She's so cute. She's just such a precious face. Okay. Coming in with some pink. Maybe we can highlight the highlight side. Let's see how that dries. That'll look cool. And I'm going to take my black and kind of go around the teeth a little bit better. So I'm using my silver black velvet brush because it can come to a nice fine point. But the pool of water, I have quite the pool of water. That looks cool. I don't need to give it all away. They can kind of fill in some information too, they being the viewer. Okay, what if we zoom out a little bit and you kind of see the whole face? That's so fun. All right. Okay, I'm still here. And thinking about the snout with scraping, I don't know if I can achieve all of that yet. Let's see. It's kind of wet. I'm not really taking any pigment off. I'm just kind of making indentations right now. So I think we got to come back to scraping. I got to just keep an eye on it with the scraping. And then I'm thinking about, let's see. We talked about door lens. We talked about the fundraiser. We talked about supplies. We talked about the membership. We talked about everything already. Super cool. All right, I'm going to just babysit this and hopefully remember to scrape. And we can kind of, I think, we can kind of move on to the fast part of the painting. So this should be a lot of fun. Kind of zoom out quite a bit. All right. That looks good. Okay, so light side this side, dark side this side. And I'm going to zoom out on my reference photo. See her pretty face. Her whole pretty face. Oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. She's so pretty. And we really did do the hard part already. So I'm going to take a little tea break. See if we can make a game plan. It's really good tea. I don't remember what I took, but it's really good. Definitely going to be doing scraping. We're going to need our grainer brush. We want to use, but I'm really excited to use buff titanium in conjunction with cobalt teal for her beautiful muted gold fur. And then that pastel purple and that pastel pink for our light side and our dark side. So I think we should start. Could be fun to start with the ears to give us a little bit of a quick win. We've been doing a lot of fussy ear work, and I think we need a little break. There we go. Now you can see here. I think we need to have a little bit of fun with some faster techniques. I'm not really achieving scraping here. So it might be a Posca pen situation for us, which is just fine. I really do like, oh, look at that. We got some. We got some. Got a little bit of scraping. It's kind of filling in right away. Okay, that looks cool. I think Posca pen will be more effective though. Let's have fun. Let's do the ears. We have some nice long hairs here, which can be challenging too. So let's see. We're going to use grainer brush. I'm going to do the 3-step, and we can do some positive hairy shapes with buff titanium. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do, let's see. I'm going to paint. I'm going to dye it. I want you to be able to see where I'm putting color here. I'm kind of doing the outside edge here, and then I want to go in and do that darker shape in the ear too. Let's see. She goes like this. Okay, that's actually kind of the lighter shape, isn't it? Look at me, I already did it wrong. That's okay. Let's pivot. I'm actually gonna blot that. I think, yeah, because that's the eye. Yeah, that's actually a lighter shape. I don't want to do that quite yet. I'm gonna do Kleenex there. All right, let's go in. We're gonna do the darker shape, and I'm giving myself some margin here too. And that's it. It's kind of a really rough geometric shape because the grainer brush is going to do most of our work for us. So I'm going to grab my larger grainer brush. It is a 3/4 inch filbert. The shape really isn't that important. And let's see. I might grab the purple first. So this is our shadow side ear. I'm going to grab our pastel purple, our blue plus pink plus buff titanium. And the reason I'm doing this, I was debating doing quinacridone gold right away. But quinacridone gold really is a bully, like we've kind of discussed earlier. And I need more time than that's going to give us. All right, let's really deposit it. We'll let it spread out. I'm going to blot, kind of just swipe some of that extra pigment off and blot my brush, and then pull some of that purple into the lighter shape to kind of establish the shape of the head and where the ear meets the head a little bit. Although I like these geometric edges too. So I don't need to completely, what I'm saying is I don't need grainer brush everywhere. The viewer can kind of fill in some of those hairy details themselves. The hairy details. Let's see, I'm just going to blot. I'm not going to really clean my grainer brush, but I'm going to go ahead and go in and grab Buff Titanium with the grainer brush. And I'm actually going to go ahead and use my second grainer brush and have that one just be for quinacridone gold. I think that will help. So let's pull some of this purple with a grainer brush that's loaded with Buff Titanium. So I'm just kind of establishing some fur patterns without, I grabbed some more purple there, without giving too much away. We're having some mystery. The viewer can fill in some of these details themselves. And then now we can come in with our, thank you, Kristen. I think I just put paint on my glasses. I'm just glad you guys are here. I hope you have a chance to paint along with whatever fun favorite paint along gets you excited to paint. Okay, so now I'm just throwing in the gold, and you can see how it just pushes the color away. It just wants to have all the fun, doesn't want to share. Heavy, heavy mix of quinacridone. And I'm hoping that I can, there we go. And I'm kind of really focusing on the edges of those pretty shapes that we painted with water. Let's see, I have my, okay. So we have a purple grainer brush, a gold grainer brush. We have a 1-inch wash brush that I was using for water. And now I have another wash, well actually it's flat, so it's not as thick as a wash brush, 3/4 inch flat. I think it'd be kind of cool if I just pulled in some of this color into the head a little bit. And that was very subtle. It wasn't quite as exciting. Actually, why don't we just keep that going? I'm gonna just, yeah, I'm gonna paint with water and pull in some of that gold color right into the forehead, right around this pretty eye shapes that she has. So coming in with my quinacridone and letting that be a bully a little bit. And then I want to come in with Buff Titanium. So I'm going to grab another brush just for Buff Titanium, just a round brush. Load that up with Buff Titanium. And then let that mix with the quinacridone. Because I just really like her pastel-y type gold color. So I don't want it to make it too quinacridone-y. Quinacridone-y. But the cool thing about Buff Titanium is we can come back later and do some paint over it. Oh wow, I have a lot on there. I'm gonna get a little bit of that off. Okay, so I'm kind of using my quinacridone grainer brush, but it's basically cleaned off, and I'm just pulling some of the color into the drier paper. Oh man, I don't know, that's kind of pretty. I think I had dirty water or something right there. All right, I'm gonna grab water only. And why don't we just continue? We're here, we're finding some flow. I'm gonna go ahead and continue this forehead shape into the other ear. I'm gonna dye it. I want you to see where I'm going. I'm babysitting the other ear too, because I think I want to scrape. All right, painting the dark shapes. Kind of chunky painting. But I also want this to be like a shape that connects. Sometimes that can look really cool. So connecting basically these chunky dark shapes because I don't need to be too heavy-handed on the dark side. All right, we have time. We can always add more water over there. I'm just thinking about scraping for a second. Ooh, pretty. The scraping on the purple is so pretty. And I'm just cleaning off my tool. Scraping can be quite the hack too for negative painting because you can kind of give yourself little shapes to paint around. I love these. I just like her little wispy hairs. But we can get those too with buff titanium. So we don't have to be too crazy. And that's the cool thing. It's like you see this. At least I know I could and be overwhelmed by the amount of detail and hair on her body, thinking, oh no, we have to paint all the hair. And freaking out and then sucking all the fun out of painting. I'm like, what the heck? This is gonna take me 6 days to paint. But then you're just like, put water down, put color down, finish with a technique like scraping, and you'll be done. And then you can actually have a ton of fun with painting. Okay, I love the scraping that we achieved over there. That's all we need to do. We don't need to go crazy. And we continued this shape. It's gotten a little bit drier, but that's okay. Let's add a little bit more water here. And this is the light side. So we were going to do pink. We're going to do a pretty pink. And I have my pink brush right here. You can see, okay, so I'm grabbing my pink, which is just over here. So it's just my opera pink and buff titanium. Because we're going for that pastel, that softer. She's just a soft, sweet little girl. So we're emphasizing how soft and sweet she is right now. With a little pastel pink. And I'm going to say, hey, you can move up a little bit. And you can move around. And even that, it's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to grab my brush that just has quinacridone, my grainer brush that just has quinacridone on it. And we're going to make some of these pretty edges. Pull some of that color out. And she has kind of these almost clumpy sections too, which are absolutely adorable. And a little bit of curl at the bottom. So we can, that's really fun to do and make a visible brush stroke. And then that's always my, oh, that looks so pretty, stop. So I have to tell myself, oh, that's really pretty, and I'm done. And that's all I need to do. And we get it. I'm going to grab buff titanium with my dirty quinacridone grainer brush and just see if I can kind of finish off the ear however I think it needs to be finished. If that's maybe some more hairy edges or some softening. I'm going to also grab my water only brush. Sometimes I need to just soften things with just water. And I want to think about where the ear meets the head too, with some hair details. Oh gosh, I don't know if I like that. I'm going to erase that. I love a little bit of brush stroke edges where you can tell, oh my gosh, this was definitely painted because that shape is a square. And so I want to get that back. I kind of like that. And put some of that pink up there. She is just such a sweetheart. I think it just needs a little bit of water. Okay, and then I want to think about this too. So we have this cute little smile, and then kind of where her ear meets her head. It's just a little scruffy. Okay, that's probably it. I want to drop in a little water and push some of this beautiful pigment that's already granulating towards the edges of this shape. And that also will help emphasize, oh wait, this is a painting and it's really pretty and it's not a photo. Okay, so we do have, yes, this is going to stay on YouTube. I'm not going to take it down. And the cool thing is, even if you're not watching it live, you have a little bit more control and you can kind of fast forward or watch it faster at a faster speed, or you can go back if it's alive. You just can't go forward in time. All right, so how do we feel about these shapes? Did we achieve? It's cute. I think I just want to soften. That's kind of what she looks like though. She kind of has this cute little upward shape right here. That looks so cute. What a cutie. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Okay, and we can think about scraping too with I have a bit that's a little bit more dry here on this side. And even if you're not scraping away pigment, scraping can kind of look really cool because it's indenting the paper too. And then the pigment will fall into it. So you get a lot of different things you can achieve with scraping. I agree. I agree, Morgan. The pink is just the soft pop of sweet color that she needs. So, oh, fun. Somebody's watching this while making dinner. That's a good combo. Okay, cool. Look at that. That was a fun. I think we needed that. I needed a little bit of progress. Oh, okay. We're going to make it. It's going to happen. Let's go ahead and let's paint the dark side. And that might change as I look at all my brushes. Isn't that funny? As I go along. You know what? It just changed. Let's do the body. Oh, no. I don't know. No, let's do the dark side. I was going to do the body because it's so fun and it's another quick win, but I also don't want to be like putting my arm in it to do the face. So let's paint with water. We're going to focus on the dark side. I'm going to do kind of a thinner layer of water. Maybe we'll get more control. I'm going to dye it purple. I want you to be able to see. I'm kind of just painting everywhere. I'm squinting my eyes sometimes and you can really see where the whitest whites are here. So I'm just kind of giving myself, let's see, this is that, and then it goes in here. I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of information to follow. And then it's dark right here. All right, so it's dark here. Okay. It's like one big one and then one right there. Hope I'm doing that right. And then it kind of comes up into there, and then it's basically white. Oh, pretty. And then we'll let that fade into the shadow of the ear a little bit as it comes down. Okay, I'm just going to extend this purple. I'm kind of doing a very similar thing to how I painted the ear. Purple first, because we're on the shadow side. And then we'll go in with our gold and our buff titanium too. Let's see, that's a lot of pink. I'm gonna save that pretty pigment we have on there. Think about my grainer brushes here. I'm gonna grab buff titanium, I think, with this flat brush. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab my quinacridone. It has quinacridone and buff titanium on it, the grainer brush. And I'm just gonna see if I can kind of imply some furry edges and some gold. Okay, we have the eye and it kind of comes down into gold, like right here. And then we have a lot of gold as it gets to the body and then around the mouth. Okay. And then I'm just saturating some of these areas of gold that I'm laying down. And I am kind of going into the ear too a little bit if I think it needs it. And we'll definitely need to glaze with another little bit of purple. And then putting a little bit of that buff titanium gold around the eye. And it'd be fun to get our water only brush and soften that in to her pretty little white eyebrow area. And hopefully without picking up too much of the black that we laid down. Oh man, I have a lot on my, I have a lot. Okay. Let's think about, I'm gonna grab more buff titanium on my grainer brush. And I'm just thinking about some of these furry edges along these highlighted areas. And then I think I need some purple. So I'm going to just grab some of that purple. I'm going to go a little bit. What if we did? No, I don't know. I was thinking about putting black in there, but I got nervous. We might just have to glaze with some more purple at the end. But I'm mostly thinking about value here and trying to get this a little bit accurate. Okay, so this pretty smile, and then it kind of comes up here and it gets quite a bit darker right here. All right, and I'm gonna just soften this into this shape. And I think right now we're kind of at like an ugly stage, which happens. Don't freak out. I'm telling myself that. Don't freak out. So I'm gonna bring this dark side down into the body. So now we're kind of getting into the body a little bit. That's a lot of fun. And I love to anchor the body. Okay, that's not going to help us very much. I love to anchor it to the page on the dark side. That's typically what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and paint with water and let some of these, we created a really pretty brown right there with that purple. And I'm kind of just doing what we did on the ear and making some geometric shapes with my flat brush. I'm leaving a margin where the body meets the bottom jaw. And we're not doing the collar on her. So I'm kind of trying to guess a little bit, fill in the details of the fur patterns here. And I want to anchor it all the way down. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to grab my other flat brush. Has a lot of buff titanium on it. I'm going to grab a nice dark purple. So a lot of blue, a lot of opera pink. So like really heavy on the pigment. I still want buff titanium in there, but a lot of pigment to water ratio. And start up here and let that purple. And I'm just painting the kind of shadowy shapes of purple with the flat brush first, and then we can kind of come in with the grainer brush. So let's do that. I need a little bit more space. I'm going to grab buff titanium. Let's see. And I just want to finish this edge while I'm thinking about it. And I picked up some quinacridone too. And she has like the prettiest little almost ringlets as we get closer to the light side. So I'm doing some visible brush strokes to kind of get those ringlety bits as we move over here. And sometimes I paint too much. I'm lifting up a little bit of pigment here. Just some areas I want to be a little bit lighter. So I paint all the way down to the bottom. And I know you can't really see that. Let's see if we move this. There you go. Now you kind of can. I'm just anchoring it into that. And you can kind of see these prettier ringlets too. All right, well, I have a lot of buff titanium on here. We'll see if we can maybe even get some color resist right here. And let that buff titanium move some of the color we laid down. And sometimes it's fun too to even use the side of your greener brush and see what different kind of patterns you can achieve with, you know, different pressure and different amounts of pigment and different angles. And I don't want to overpaint it. I feel like I've done plenty. Let's see, I'm going to lift up. This is pretty though, the granulation we achieved is really pretty. And then I can move towards, let's see, I don't know. I think it does need a little bit more gold. It needs to just, I like how this gold almost makes it glow. I have a lot of buff titanium on the brush too. That's really pretty. I do like that. And it pushes the other color away in a good way. I think that's really beautiful. A little swipe over there would look nice. That's so fun. We established a lot with that. I think it'd be kind of fun to just continue and finish this, especially because it's basically done. The light side is really cool in that way. I'm going to do a really light layer of water here. I don't want to overpaint this. I'm going to be really thoughtful. And then let's grab this one. And it has some purple on it, and it has buff titanium on it. And it's kind of neat to see how it behaves differently depending on the wetness of the paper that I'm putting it on. I just basically want to establish where the head is a little bit. I love the little curly bits though, so pretty. I could grab some pink with that dirty brush. It's not very pastel. There we go. Is that enough information? I really kind of like that. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. And we can come back to it. We can paint more. And I think another layer would be a good idea. I'm trying to soften some of it. I'm gonna grab a little bit more pink. This is definitely one of the longer paint-alongs. Just a lot of detail in this dog. Oh, pretty. It looks so pretty. I'm not sure what it needs. I feel like it needs something, but I'm not sure what it is. So that's when I was like, that's when I think, okay, I gotta come back to this because it'll probably come to me. Sometimes I'm just softening some of the white space. Not a ton. I like having little white bits, but sometimes it's nice to soften the pigment around those shapes so they're not too harsh. Yeah, I know the gold. I know I mean, it's quinacrine's a bully, but in a good way sometimes. It does really take over Jen, and I think that's really pretty too. I think a glaze of gold could be kind of cool, but I don't know. Actually, I kind of like having just the gold over here, and then having it be really light over here. But you know, I don't know, some little bit of gold could be kind of cool. But that might be something you just glaze at the end. Just have a little tiny bit of it. And kind of negative paint. That's pretty. That's so pretty. Okay, I gotta calm down. I gotta stop. That's enough. All right. It's like, I just need another layer right now where we're so close, but we're not there yet. I know it's been 2 hours already and we're not quite there, but it just needs another layer. It just needs some softening and another layer, and then those whiskers will be really kind of cool at the end. Do we need to scrape anything? I love the blooming. Oh my gosh. This is pretty. I like a little bit of scraping. I really achieved some nice scraping there, even though I didn't really need it there. But you get it where you can get it, right? Can't always get it where you want to get it. Oh, right there is nice. That looks cool. I think buff titanium really helps with scraping too, which is nice. It can look really cool. We got some pretty pigmented edges over here too. But some of these shapes are a little harsh, even though they're really pretty. There we go. All right, what are we thinking? I'm like, if this wasn't alive, I'd take a little break. Like, oh my gosh, I just need a minute. Let's do the snout. Let's zoom in and do the snout. I think that'll go a long way. Look at that. She looks happy and sweet. All right, a nice thin layer along the snout. I'm not going to dye it. I'm just putting a really thin layer on here, and I'm kind of going all the way from the nose, you can see that because it's capturing some of that color, all the way down to the lips at the bottom. And then we can do some cool grainer brush, and it'll be a little bit softer if we have a nice thin layer of water here. So I'm going to clean off my smaller grainer brush. Can you see my goodies? I have so many splattery things. All right, I'm gonna start with purple with a nice amount of buff titanium, and I'm kind of just gonna go where I see the darkest darks, and I'm starting on the dark side too. And it's kind of pretty when you do a little light layer of water, because then it just makes it so soft and nice. And we're just kind of layer quite a bit of color and grainer brush color along the snout area. And I'm still using purple here. All right, more purple. That's a lot. And I'm kind of fading it. So a little bit less on my brush, more watery mix on my brush as I go towards the outside edges and up. And I'm kind of also going in these line patterns to follow the whiskers. You can kind of see how I'm doing that. I'm gonna go more pink heavy if I can. And still want a watery mix, but I just want it to be a little bit more pink. There we go. A little bit waterier. I don't want to do too much on the light side. So I always try to underpaint it because I can, you can always add more. This is so fun though. I know this is such a long, it's such a long paint along, but it's what it takes sometimes to do a painting. Let's extend that little layer of water up on the top of the nose. And get that little bit of gold at that top of the nose. I think that's going to be so cute. So let's see. Let's come in. I'm going to grab some gold on my grainer brush. Let's start on the light side, or the dark side, I mean. I'm going to grab a little pink there too. Oh my gosh, this is too fun. Look at that. It's coming together and it just feels so good when it finally does. And you're starting to get out of that ugly stage and it's starting to really pop. Really cool. Grainer brushes though, that's where all the magic is. I like that a lot. Sometimes just like a kind of a dirty grainer brush. She's just so light. So I don't want to lose my whites. I really like the brightness of this side though. So I'm wondering if I can get just really watery mix, but not too much on my brush. So it's a watery mix of paint, but a blotted brush. So that's what I'm trying to get, if I can get that here. And while I have this pretty level of wetness, coming in with a little bit more gold on the dark side. I really like the gold on that side. That looks really good. I'm going to come in with some black. I'm picking up my lunar black and I'm going to get some of that black fur that we're seeing in the muzzle. And again, always starting with the dark side too. So that way we know how much we need on the light side, because it's going to be a lot less. And then it starts to almost look 3D. And that's really fun when it just pops off the page with the values that you've achieved. Love that part. It's so pretty. I feel like I want to do some glazing, even though I'm not 100% sold on where I am with the fur patterns with that grainer brush, but that's okay. I'm going to see if I can, and I love glazing with this brush. So this is my 3/4 inch flat brush, because you can get some really pretty visible brush strokes when you do that. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit too, because typically when I glaze, I kind of go all over. I go everywhere. But I also want you to see some of the detail. So I'm going to just grab, I'm going to start with a nice glaze of quinacridone gold. Now, I changed my mind. I'm going to glaze with a clean purple. So again, I'm glazing with a clean purple because it'll be transparent and you'll be able to see underneath it. So that would be this well for me. That's my purple well. I'm going to get a nice watery mix of that. And you can always test it too. So before, because it can be intimidating to just put a huge stroke of paint. Look at that. That's pretty nice. That'll make an impact without completely covering everything up. So it's nice too to get like a big well of your glazing color ready to go. I need my softening brush too. Sometimes you want to soften that glaze in. So, and you can negative paint too with the glaze, which can be really fun. So I'm kind of negative painting the glaze around those scraped hairs. All right, so we have, I want to make sure I get this right. There's so many little details in this one. It's a challenging subject. And I love to have a brush handy to soften things in if we need to. So negative painting with my glaze too, which I think can look really cool. And we already scraped some of those lines in. So we have a little bit of a roadmap on where to go with our negative painting. All right. All right, how do we feel about the shadows over there? I like that. I think that really helped. So I'm kind of glazing some of these edges, and it's kind of giving them color and softening them at the same time. What do we got? What are we doing? I want to get this mouth shape right too. I don't want her to look too much like a clown. I'm getting that vibe a little bit, that clowny vibe. I'm gonna grab pink, I think. Pink, I think. And again, just a glaze of it. And so I want it to be transparent and a nice watery mix. And I don't want it to be too purple. I'm getting a lot of purple. I'm gonna test it. It's still pretty purple. Maybe I need to go over here. There we go. That'll be pretty. That'll be really pretty. It's like we're giving her makeup. But I don't know if that's helping or hurting the clown vibe. Clowns wear a lot of makeup. All right. I think I can take a deep breath. Everything's okay. She's really cute. Okay, I do like that little addition of pink. You know, these are the little fussy details, but they make a lot of difference. I was thinking a glaze of pink too on here. I like that a lot. Oh my gosh, she's really coming together. I think that's really cool. Okay, let's see what I got. I'm dropping, people are dropping like flies. This painting is taking way too long. That's okay. I'd be painting it anyway, so I may as well record it. You guys can watch it faster than I can paint it. Well, and you can paint it faster too if you're working smaller. I think a glaze of gold, and then I'd like to do, I mean, we have to do the whiskers, we have to soften. There's still quite a bit to do, so, but I really, oh, it's really pretty. It's really, she's really happy. That's what I was really hoping for. So, I don't know, we're on a glazing streak. Could glaze with some gold here. Nice watery mix of quinacridone. Testing it out. Boy, that's intense, isn't it? It's working. Oh, I like that. I like that little splatter. Pretty. Okay. Need my softening brush here. I'll lift a little bit. Sometimes it just glazes too dark, but I still like the glaze. And I'm really focusing the glaze on the dark side. That's pretty. I just don't need very much. Oh my gosh, I'm just grabbing so much with my brush. It's funny because I think I said that once we get to the body, it's going to go so fast. Oh, it's not going as fast as I anticipated. This painting had its set of challenges. It's really, I really like it though. It is coming alive in a really pretty way. Okay, what do we think? I think you could soften the edges. I think another layer of black to deepen the eyes and softening around the teeth would be beneficial. And then Posca pen for the whiskers. And I just want to try that out. I think it'd be fun too to do the Posca pen around the ears too. So I have like the thicker one, but look at that. I mean, you can really, it's really nice. It just goes on so smooth. Even on the rough paper, it just looks really good. So you can have fun applying that however you like. Let's see if we can get some good whiskers. And I found too with Posca pen, you kind of can go over it a second time to get it even darker. Yeah, that looks better. And I'm cleaning it off too. It's kind of picking up some of the black pigment. And having a brush to soften where they meet the mouth. And you can test too with different colors. I have a white one that could look kind of neat. My gosh, it looks really good, right? I like that they're not white completely. Whiskers can be a challenge because they can really command a lot of attention. And I think especially sometimes when you're working with masking fluid and you remove the masking fluid and then all of a sudden you just have these really intense kind of harsh and thick lines, and they just don't match the rest of the aesthetic of the painting. So that's why I really wanted to see if I could just get away with scraping and Posca pen, and I think we did. I feel good about it. I just like that Posca pen. It just comes on smooth. It looks really nice. I like that a lot. I love the eyes. I think we just really dove in and had a lot of fun with this one. So I am going to call it. I wish I could zoom out more so you could kind of see the whole thing. Maybe I can try. There we go. Look at that. Oh, I like that. You can see the thing as a whole. And I hope you have a lot of fun painting this. I know it was kind of an endeavor. It was kind of a commitment, a big commitment. But you know, it's good if you just want to stare at it. And I really love the colors we chose. We had a lot of fun with those pastel colors, and I think we achieved her happy disposition with this painting. Tons of fun. So let's go ahead and announce the winner of the Dorlands giveaway. We have quite a few comments. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, what do we got? Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35. Okay, I'm going to just say 35-ish. And let me see if I can do a random number. Okay, I got to get back to my stream. All right, 18. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3. I'm counting from the top, so I'm not counting my comments. So the first one would be Donna's, and we have 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So MC, you commented a lot. You got in on that. That was awesome. So MC, please message, or I will type in it in the chat for you to claim your Dorlands mini jar. You can email me. I will type in the chat. You can email my email, and I will ship that out to you, and you're going to love it. I know I love it. I buy it all the time. Okay. I think that was it. That's everything I had on my notes. Again, if you're a subscriber, you have all the information coming out on Monday and Tuesday for the upcoming membership. Thank you so much, everybody who donated to the fundraiser. We met our goal. I had a tiny goal. Well, it seemed tiny, but gosh, it makes a difference because these little things, little by little, they add up. Thank you for everybody who donated, everybody who painted along. And I have so much coming, even, the membership and all that stuff. I have a really fun in-person workshop coming up. Actually, it's really far away. It's not till August next year, but it's a multi-day workshop at an art school. Bucket list moment for me, but we have other in-person workshops happening as well. A lot of fun. And in the meantime, thank you so much. I was so happy to paint with you today.